The morning of October 11th, I went to Plano Senior High School with my friend Diane Goebel, and we went to the indoor facility to meet with the Planoettes.
Every year we go and we just have a brief visit with them a few days before the Pink Out game. We take the ribbons that the drill team members are going to wear, the band, the cheerleaders, the faculty.
So Diane and I left, we said our goodbyes, and we walked out. Diane and I went to the side of the school, and we were on the sidewalk just talking.
We were chatting, and first Julie reached her hand out to grab my shoulder, and I realized that, her eyes just kind of froze.
After a little while, I felt like I was going to faint, which I've had that feeling before. It's happened in my life. So I thought I was going to faint, and I reached out to her shoulder thinking I was going to just fall to the ground, but that's the last thing I remember.
From the time Julie collapsed, I don't think more than 2 or 3 seconds passed before I dialed 911. It was very immediate.
Hello, Plano 911.
I'm at Plano Senior High, and we need an ambulance.
All right. What's the phone number you're calling from?
And before I could even think about, getting down on my knees and trying to do some type of CPR, before I knew it, I saw a man running from the school bus that was parked several yards away.
When I saw them first, they were just talking and going. I'm assuming they were going to their car or the parking lot. And then I saw her fall, and her friend tried to catch her. And then she fell to the ground and was not responsive. So I knew that the closest person to me that would be able to help and was an adult was our bus driver. So I ran onto the bus. I dropped my stuff. I said, "Coach Kaylee, a woman just collapsed. I don't know what's wrong, but she needs help," and the woman that's with her is calling for that.
So I had one of the athletes run up and say, "Coach, a lady just fell down or passed out. I don't know if she's okay." So I got off the bus. I ran over there. When I got there, her legs were kind of folded underneath her body. Her head was to the side. She had some white foam kind of at the base of her mouth. As I kept on communicating with her, there was no response. At that point, I checked to see if there was any type of pulse. I could not feel any on her neck. Was kind of nervous or concerned because my basically adrenaline was going, so I wanted to make sure I checked again. Didn't feel anything, so then at that point, I removed her legs from underneath kind of her body as she folded down, just to have a straight line of her body. Tilted her head a little bit to make sure there wasn't anything in her airways. She still was not breathing at that point, so then I started CPR compressions. After doing maybe 20 seconds worth of CPR compressions, someone else came up and said, "Coach, is there anything we can do?" I said, "Go get the athletic trainer."
Levi was the one that ran to me. I think he's the one that Coach Kaylee said, "Go get the athletic trainer." And as he was coming in, he was yelling for me. I came out, I saw him, and so I ran to the double doors. And at that time, I think the twin girls, Riley and Christy, must have been coming past me.
Coach Foley comes running and goes, "Get the AED." And so Riley runs and goes to get the AED, which was right outside her office. Right when Coach Foley got there, Levi and I left. So as soon as they were there together, we went off, because that was the next step. And we left, but we were at the door, and he got the AED, and I got it from him and ran to Miss Kuhn, and we got it down, turned it on. But we learned that if there's multiple people who know how to do compressions, that you can switch off if you're getting tired, because it's a really demanding thing to push. So I really don't think he heard me, but I was like, "I can take over if you need." I wanted to help in any way I could. So I was standing there ready in case he needed something. But then once I saw Riley coming back with it, I knew that was something I could help do instead of just stand there.
At that point, I probably explained to her, "Hey, she is not breathing." And in her response, she said, "Hey, do you know how to set up the AED machine?" I said, yes. She said, well, why don't you go ahead and get that set up while I can finish the compressions. And I remember walking over to do the AED machine, and I remember seeing her put the plastic mask on the mouth to do the 2 breaths.
The protocol is when you first start CPR, you give 2 quick breaths, and then you do 30 compressions, and you do that continuously. Pull out my keys, I take my ambu mask off, I open that up, pull it apart, put it on her, retilt her head, and then at that point, I asked Tom to stop, and I give 2 rescue breaths, and then I take over compressions. Once the AED arrives, I tell the twins to open it up and to turn it on, which they knew how to do, even without prompting.
The first thing you do is just turn it on. So got there, put it down, press the on button. It's really simple because it lays it out for you. And right when you turn it on, it tells you step by step what to do.
Firmly place the pad without the liner on the patient exactly as illustrated.
So they opened that up, and then I asked for the scissors because once it was turned on, I knew we were going to have to take off Julie's clothes to be sure we got proper pad placement. And so one of the girls handed me the scissors, and that's when I stopped compressions and was trying to take off her shirt with the scissors and was having a very difficult time. And so I put them down and tried to rip, and at that point Tom said, I'll do it, you get the pads. And so Tom ripped Julie's shirt, and then we cut her bra, and I placed the pads on.
I just remember walking over, grabbing it, taking the pads out, pulling them out, and I just remember the cord kind of coming away from the machine, which was, for whatever reason, that came to my mind of like how real this is really becoming. So I pulled them out. I remember grabbing them and then starting to pull away the sticky part, or the protective sticky part. And as I did that, you know, I've done this for 20 years in terms of training, and when you did that, it kind of folded back. The sticky part was connecting to itself, and I was thinking to myself, oh man, I know how important it is to have a clean surface to stick to the body, and I was like, I hope this doesn't ruin the connection with the body. And at that point, I was like, I can't mess with this too much, because then I started getting concerned of dropping that onto the road, which had a lot of, you know, loose rocks, and then that would just even be a worse situation. So I started pulling those away, and at that point I remember Jackie saying, I can't get the scissors to cut. And I remember I said, here, take these, let me rip the shirt, and I can get that done, and you can finish the process with the AED machine.
So once those were off, I took the pads, placed them on, and at that point, once the pads are on, the AED takes over, and it immediately said analyzing, and so we were not allowed to touch her, so it tells you to stand clear. So I told everybody to stand clear, and I believe we all stood up, kind of give it space, make sure it would analyze her correctly, and it went from there, analyzed her, and it said shock advised.
The AED tells you, like, analyzing heart rate and stuff clear, so we all just step back, and as it was saying, it said shock advised.
Preparing shock. Move away from the patient. Do not touch patient. Analyzing heart rhythm. Please wait.
Once we all stood up, at that time we could see the paramedics pulling up, and they had pulled up from behind us, and so it was almost a relief that, okay, we got the AED on, it's about to do what it needs to do, and they'll be able to take over and get her to the hospital in time.
And about the same time the second shock was given, the ambulance was just parking. And I remember the first door opening up and being, okay, now a professional can hopefully take over and do a better job than what we have, or the third phase of it. And I remember they showed up. They then began asking questions immediately. Okay, what happened? How many times has the machine given the shock? And we said yes, twice. And after they put her on the back brace and put her, I remember she was about 3/4 of on the ambulance, and I just said, is she breathing? And it was almost not a very calm voice. It was more of an urgency voice. Is she breathing? I just need to know. And they said, yes, she is breathing. And I just remember kind of turning to Coach Foley and going, oh my gosh. And I remember kind of giving her a little bit of a high five, and I think we just said, hey, great job.
So from the time Julie collapsed to when the ambulance arrived, I mean, it felt like in ways it felt like an eternity because so much happened during that time. And then, after it was all over and I looked at my phone to see how much time had passed, I realized it was only, a mere 3 minutes that all of those events happened that brought her back.
The American Heart Association kind of sets the standards for CPR. And one of the things that they talk about is the chain of survival, the things that need to happen in order for a good outcome to potentially happen. And number one in the chain is early recognition, is you recognize this is a CPR, something needs to happen. And early access to 911, somebody calling it quickly. Number two is early CPR, someone that is there and willing to act. And what happens, unfortunately, sometimes is it's such a scary situation. Sometimes people are just too scared to act. Unfortunately, when someone's not acting, when someone's not willing to start doing CPR or something like that, it massively decreases the possibility of a good outcome. Within minutes of not having blood circulating to your brain, not having oxygen to your brain starts to die, and your body starts to die. And that's just unfortunately how it goes. And so people recognizing that Julie had collapsed, recognizing that she didn't have a pulse, and saying, I need to do something, and doing it is incredibly impressive and inspiring, because it doesn't always happen.
Welcome. My name is George Mencarelli, Vice President of Fuel Operations for ABM. You're at the start of a new journey with ABM. What we hold closely is our employees and our commitment to ourselves and others we provide service for, which starts with us and now you. We are measured as a whole and not individuals. Therefore, we want everyone to know that they are the focus where service begins and ends. At the core of our commitment to service is safety, and safety begins with each of you as individuals and then us as a team as a whole. We make the commitment. We won't compromise on safety or service, and therefore we won't compromise when it comes to you. We have developed this educational video to provide you some insight into your new career in aviation fueling here at ABM. Please enjoy the video.
Here at ABM, we care about you and the work environment for all our team members. During our time together, we will cover various points of interest involving the fueling operations and the equipment we utilize to serve our customers in a fast-paced commercial aviation environment. At the end of this video, there will be a quiz that you will be required to pass with an 80% or better before moving to the next step. We use 4 different types of equipment to fuel an aircraft. They are a fueling platform, a stationary cart, a hydrant truck, and a refueling tanker. The fueling platform is a mobile staircase that allows the fueler to connect the fueling equipment to various types of narrow-bodied aircraft. The stationary cart is a piece of equipment that connects the aircraft to the underground airport fueling system, called the hydrant system. The stationary cart usually stays in an outlined area that has been designated by the airport authority within the aircraft safety zone. Before starting your shift, be sure you have the proper uniform required for your location. This includes a high-visibility vest or jacket worn as the outermost layer on the upper body. Your slip-resistant work boots must be black or brown leather that is chemical resistant. Do not wear steel-toed boots or boots made of suede or other materials that can absorb fuel or other chemicals. An airport ramp is a very loud place to work. Always use hearing protection when working. And to protect your eyes, always use safety glasses. They will be provided for you. It is mandatory to wear fuel gloves when connecting or disconnecting to the aircraft or the airport hydrant system. These specialized gloves will be provided. At the beginning of each shift, you will check out an intrinsically safe radio, or for short, IS radio. Be sure the radio is fully charged and working properly. At the end of your shift, the IS radio must be signed back in and placed on the charger for the next shift to use. If it is dark during any part of your shift, an internal switch flashlight will be issued to you and must be returned at the end of each shift. The fueling platform is a mobile stair unit that can be locked into position to become stationary at the point of fueling, to aid the fueler in the operation of fueling the aircraft. Before using the fueling platform, note these important points. Before moving or using the platform, inspect the tires, handrails, and steps for any damage or defect prior to use. If applicable, also inspect the fuel hose lift arm to confirm it is operating properly. Always chock both tires whether or not the platform is being used. After you complete the platform inspection, push the platform from the staging area to under the wing. If the staging area is not adjacent to the aircraft, where it's not a direct line from the staging area to the fueling area, never go between the pushback and the aircraft. Always go around the back of the pushback to avoid causing damage to the aircraft. Push the platform under the wing of the aircraft so it aligns under fueling panel. To secure the ladder, lock and chock the wheels. Check the ladder for stability and confirm it can't move. Place the nozzle on the lift hook or on top of the platform. If at any time the platform becomes unstable, stop fueling and inspect the platform. Always remember to inspect. Properly move the platform. Be sure the platform is secure in position, and properly stow when not in use. Never not report damage or defects. Never use for any other purpose than fueling an aircraft, and never go between the aircraft and the pushback. The stationary cart is used to refuel narrow-body aircraft and is in close proximity to the aircraft at all times or near the safety zone for use. Some airports have painted boxes for the cart in the safety zone, where the cart will reside at all times. If the cart box is not provided by the airport, the cart will be nearby and will require 2 people to push it into position for safety to avoid muscle strains and potential damage. These are the steps to take when refueling an aircraft using a stationary cart. These steps will only be taken after obtaining a written fuel slip from operations. The aircraft has come to a complete stop. The engines have spooled down, meaning the blades are no longer spinning, and the aircraft wheels have been chocked. First, inspect the cart for any damage or leaks. Radio your supervisor and let them know you are starting the fueling process by calling out your name, gate, and aircraft number and flight number. Check the airline fuel slip against the aircraft number to verify you are at the proper aircraft. Then check the fuel panel to verify the fuel quantity needed and test the aircraft fuel system as outlined by the airline for their aircraft as specified in their fueling manual. Place a safety cone next to the hydrant pit lid. Lift the pit lid and remove the hydrant connection and sense line dust covers. Inspect the hydrant pit for any visible damage, fuel, water debris, or leaks. If you see anything that is not correct, contact the supervisor immediately. Obtain a pit coupler from the stationary cart and pull it out over to the pit. Remove the dust cover if it's not part of the cart. Connect the pit coupler to the hydrant system and verify the pit coupler is in the locked position and securely attached to the hydrant head with no signs of leaking observed. Connect the sense line. Open the valve on the hydrant pit. Obtain a bonding cable from the hydrant cart and walk it to the position on the aircraft bonding point as outlined by the airline for that aircraft, and make the bond connection between the aircraft and the cart. Place a ticket in the printer and write down the aircraft information on the equipment sheet. Obtain the single-point nozzle from the cart and pull enough hose to allow for slack so the hose can be relaxed and not in your way when fueling to prevent strains when making a connection. Obtain the deadman device and press to start fueling. If it is a rope type, pull the rope until the unit activates. Once the fuel is flowing into the aircraft, observe for any leaks under the wing, the pit, the hose, or fueling equipment. And check to be sure the nozzle pressure does not exceed 45 psi and the differential pressure gauge does not exceed 15 psi. Once the fueling is complete, remove and stow all cart connections in the reverse order from the deployment. First, disconnect the single-point nozzle and stow. Then, disconnect the bonding cable from the aircraft and stow. Coil the deadman device and stow. Disconnect the pit coupler and stow. Then, replace the dust covers in the pit, on the hydrant head, and sense line hookup. Close the access lid to the hydrant system. Pick up the safety cone and stow. Print out the fuel ticket and confirm it is properly filled out. Securely close the fuel panel. Turn in one copy of the ticket to the aircraft captain, one copy to airline operations, and one copy of the ticket goes in the ABM clipboard, which is in the cart stowage box. Return the fuel platform back to the stowage area from under the wing of the aircraft. Radio to your supervisor that the refueling is complete, giving them your name, the gate, and the flight number. The hydrant truck is a mobile unit that fuels all models of aircraft from an airport hydrant system. Hydrant trucks will always pull parallel to a narrow-body aircraft, following the same procedures of a fuel cart. For mid-body and wide-body aircraft, the hydrant truck will pull under the wing of the aircraft. A trained guide person must always be used to guide the hydrant truck into and out of place. Inspect the hydrant truck, checking for any damage or leaks. Radio your supervisor and let them know you need a guide person before approaching the aircraft. Once you are in position, radio your supervisor and let them know you are starting the fueling process, informing them of your name, aircraft number, your gate, and flight number. Chock the rear drive wheel of the hydrant truck and complete the walk-around for obstructions and others operating in your work area. Check the airline fuel slip against the aircraft number to verify you are at the proper aircraft. Then check the fuel panel to verify the fuel quantity needed and test the aircraft fuel system as outlined by the airline for their aircraft, as specified in their fueling manual. Place a safety cone next to the hydrant pit lid. Lift the pit lid. Remove the hydrant connection and sense line dust covers, and inspect the hydrant pit for visible damage, fuel, water, debris, and leaks. Obtain the pit coupler from the hydrant truck and pull it over to the hydrant head connection. Remove the dust cover if it's not part of the cart. Connect the pit coupler to the hydrant system and verify the coupler lock is in the down position and is securely attached to the hydrant head. Connect the sense line. Open the valve on the hydrant pit coupler. Obtain the bonding cable from the hydrant truck and walk it to the aircraft bonding point, as outlined by the airline for that aircraft, and make the bond connection between the aircraft and the truck. Obtain the single-point nozzle from the side reel station on the truck and pull enough hose to allow for slack so the hose can be relaxed and not in your way when fueling and prevent strains when trying to make a connection. When fueling a mid-body or wide-body aircraft, use the truck lift basket with fueling hoses that reside in the lift basket station. Obtain the deadman device and press to start fueling. For a rope type, pull the rope until the unit activates. Once fuel is flowing, observe it for any leaks under the wing, the pit, or fueling equipment. Check the nozzle pressure, making sure it does not exceed 45 psi. Check the differential pressure gauge, making sure it does not exceed 15 psi. Once the fueling is complete, remove and stow all truck connection in reverse order from deployment. First, disconnect the single-point nozzle and stow. Then disconnect the bonding cable from the aircraft and stow. Coil the deadman device and stow. Disconnect the pit coupler and stow. Replace the dust covers in the pit on the hydrant head and sense line hookup. Close the access lid to the hydrant system. Pick up the safety cone and stow. Print out the fuel ticket and confirm it is properly filled out. Securely close the fuel panel. Turn in 1 copy of the ticket to the aircraft captain, 1 copy to airline operations, and 1 copy of the ticket goes in the ABM clipboard, which is in the cab of the truck. If fueling a narrow-body aircraft, return the fuel platform back to the stowage area from under the wing of the aircraft. Radio your supervisor, giving your name, gate and flight number, and that fueling is completed. Request a guide person to safely guide you off and away from the aircraft. Spill carts are stationary carts that are in our operating area that allow us to respond quickly to fuel spills on the ramp. Each cart should be chocked when not in tow and should be secured. A monthly inspection log completed by the supervisor for proper response and readiness shall be maintained. Each cart should have at least the following: 1 55-gallon clean drum, 2 push brooms, 2 fiber or plastic shovels. Do not use metal shovels. 20 to 25 bags of oil dry absorbent on board that are at least 25 pounds per bag. A drain cover that would fit any drain in the area where the cart is stored. 100 foot of boom, commonly called pigs. A bundle of 100 spill pads. and an inspection log noting the last time it was checked or resupplied after use. Finally, it is essential to communicate properly with your supervisor and with airport operations. Every airport will have their own protocols that you have been trained to and must follow. But here is what to know. Stop the flow of fuel, communicate with your supervisor, and keep the area clear. Our goal at ABM Aviation is to provide a safe environment to all our employees. If you see anything that could be potentially hazardous, notify your supervisor immediately.
Hello, I'm Ken Moraith, and this is the third in our series of 8 retirement checklist items that you should go through before you retire. This one is on retiring your debt. Our view of where you should be financially when you retire is that when you retire, so should your debt be retired. And the reason why we want you to be in that place is because if you have no debt, then basically, other than a few expenses like your groceries, your utilities, and those kind of things, all your other expenses are variable. And variable means that at any time you can decide not to spend those dollars if you need them for something else. It gives you flexibility, it gives you peace of mind. Think about how great it would be if you had no debt at all. You know, in fact, I would even say that your health is better when you have less stress due to having debt. Have a game plan to get there. If you have a lot of credit card debt, you have a lot of debt like that, then before you retire, I would encourage you to build a game plan to get you to the point that when you do retire, you have no debt. So take advantage of your wages that you have available to you while you're still working in that last year perhaps, and apply those towards paying down that debt as fast as possible. And again, your goal is that when you retire, your debt is retired too. And if you get to that place, I think the peace of mind you'll have of not having debt is worth its weight in gold. We have other videos for you, as I mentioned. We have a series of 8. I encourage you to watch all of them. Thank you for watching this one.
We live in a day and age where fraud is being perpetrated every minute. According to the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners 2018 report to the nations, the median fraud on small businesses was $200,000. Most small businesses can't afford to take a loss of this magnitude. Convenience tends to influence our choices, as the typical business owner is pulled in multiple different directions on a daily basis, and as such tends to relinquish duties to one or more entrusted employees to alleviate the stress of wearing too many hats. Internal fraud control should be simplistic and easy to implement for a business owner. But instead, information which is accessible via the internet can be confusing and lack the true direction to assist the business owner in creating controls. You've worked hard to get your business established, and protecting it from fraud should not be difficult or burdensome. Premier Fraud Prevention was created by experts to help small business owners by providing a clear path to understand and implement the controls and processes needed to help prevent fraud within their organizations, so they can get on with the business of running their business. We truly care about helping each small business owner achieve a clear understanding of how to protect their business from the multiple fraud schemes which could be perpetrated by entrusted employees, and in many instances go undetected without the proper safeguards in place. Ask yourself how your business would be impacted if internal fraud occurred and you suffered a loss, because the monetary impact is more than just what was stolen. The cost of fraud includes the dollars taken, the cost of the investigation, the cost to your employees' morale, any reputational loss to your business, and your peace of mind. Could your business sustain such a loss and rebound to being profitable? Could you meet your payroll demands for your employees? Would your insurance premiums increase due to such a loss? Would your customer base and reputation suffer due to such a loss? And how would regulatory implications affect you? At Premier Fraud Prevention, we have created highly informative pre-recorded webinars, downloadable materials, and live Q&A sessions to give small business owners the detailed information they need to understand and implement safeguards to protect their business from the threat of fraud. Our desire is to arm you with information, customizable forms, and knowledge to assist you in developing internal controls and processes you can and should implement to protect your business. We believe that fraud prevention is a basic foundation of a successful and profitable business, and we offer information and education on building your foundation in a simplistic, convenient, and affordable manner.